All right, we are going to read Who's in a Family by Robert Skutch. That's the author. And the illustrations are by Laura Nienhaus. And you can see that for the illustrations, the illustrator made it look like pictures of a family taped on to a bulletin board. And she's also included a picture of a lion family, which is a little bit of a clue of what the author and the illustrator do in this book. A family can be made up in many different ways. And I put the pictures of the book into these slides so we could put them up really big and you could look and see the illustrations closely, because I want you to look closely and see what you notice. Maybe you see some pictures that look like some things you maybe have done with your family, or you might see some families that look like yours. I see a family sledding. We just talked about this at morning meeting the other day, how my family is always trying to talk me into going sledding. I'm afraid I'm going to get a big bump on my bum. I don't like going off the big jumps on the sled because I always hurt my poor bottom. So maybe you like some of these things you're seeing the families do, or maybe you're like me and you're like, that might not be too fun. And that's a good example of perspective. We all have a different perspective about what might be fun and what might not. Families are made up of people, and animals have families too. Now on the left side, there's a little girl or a girl in the center, and it says me. Now that's not me, Jenny. That's me, like the person telling the story, I think. And she's got, it says mom and dad here, Cynthia, Aunt Sue, Nikki, Grandma and Grandpa, Dan. Now here the author doesn't tell us who all these people are. I mean, Grandma and Grandpa, we know what that means. Mom and Dad, we know what that means. What good readers do sometimes, if the author doesn't give you all of the information, we can do something called inferring, which is where we figure out a conclusion or an answer. I'm going to infer that this might be her brother or sister. Dan is a name that I've heard usually with boys, so I'm going to think that's her brother. Cynthia, that's a name I've heard for sisters, so I think that's her sister. Aunt Sue, that's her aunt. And then Nikki, that could be a baby brother or a baby sister. And then here the author says animals have families too. Now I'm going to have to be like a scientist and say that is true, but animal families can be really, really different from people families. And some animals really don't take care of their children. Like frogs lay their eggs and leave. And when the baby frogs hatch out of the eggs as tadpoles, the parents are nowhere around. There is just tadpoles swimming around and no adult frogs taking care of them. So it's really different than people, and your families take such good care of you. That is really different. So while we're reading, we're going to keep doing those things that good readers do. You're going to be thinking and making connections. In Carlos' family, Carlos' papa helps him with his homework, and his mama reads to his little sisters, Teresa and Linda. So that there might be some things on that page that are like your family, and there might be some things that are different. On the next page, it says Katie is an only child. When Katie's family goes camping, she sometimes gets to take along her friend Amy. And we talked about that the other day, that siblings Some families have many siblings. Some have a small number of siblings. And when there's one child, it's sometimes called an only child. And that might be like your family. Maybe the number of siblings is like your family. Maybe the activity is like your family. Amina and Geeta live with their father. They love it when he puts on a puppet show for them. It's like he was a good problem solver with this puppet theater. Some children live in families with their mothers. Janet plays ball with Josh and Ryan until their mom, Catherine, comes home. And here the author says that's like the chimpanzee family. The mama chimp raises the babies by herself with the help of older children she may have. And I was telling you before that we have in our family a Grandma Catherine, and that's how, in my family, my husband Eric, he grew up with just his mom. Sometimes that's called a single parent. And he had 3 kids in his family, and he was the oldest, and just his mom and 3 kids. Now I am trying to read along in this book that I have in my lap because I didn't get all of the pictures copied exactly right. Oh, this was right. Okay. Laura and Kyle live with their 2 moms, Joyce and Emily, and a poodle named Daisy. And it takes all 4 of them to give Daisy her bath. And so some families have a mom and a dad. Some families have a mom and a mom. And I know several families like this, and in some families they call both moms mom, and in some families they call the moms, one mom might be mama and one mom might be mom, or mommy and mama. In this family, I like how they're all working together to give Daisy the bath. And I know in our family, it does sometimes take all of us to give our dog a bath as well. In Kevin's family, the grandmother, Kyoko, takes care of Kevin and his brother while their mother is at work. And they like their grandmother to help them put together jigsaw puzzles. We spent a lot of time yesterday with grandmothers, abuela, and the grannies. And in some families, the grandparents and the parents live together, or the parent. And in some families, the grandparent might just come visit to help take care of the kids. I don't know in this picture if the grandma lives with them or not, but it looks like they're having fun together. And some of you are so lucky you have grandparents helping you out during this time when people are at home. I get to see grandmas and grandpas sometimes on the Zoom with you. In elephant families, the oldest female elephant, which is kind of like the grandma elephant, is in full charge of a family made up of only mothers, aunts, teenagers, and babies. And the male elephants live together in their own family. So in elephants, there's usually a grandma elephant, an older female elephant in charge. Aunt Amanda and Uncle Stan don't have any children, but they're still a family. They say that Mouser and Fred are their babies. This is like my brother, and my brother is married to someone named Jody, my brother John, my oldest brother, and they have 2 dogs that are their babies. Now, I'm going to do that inferring again. They don't say which one is Mouser and which one is Fred, but I'm going to guess that Mouser is the cat and Fred is the dog. But it could be the other way around, right? We don't know for sure which one is which. Ricky has two families. Most of the time, he lives with his mom. But when he visits his dad, he has a baby sister to play with. And that's how it was for me when I was a kid. I lived with my brother John and my mom most of the time. But then we would visit my dad in the summer and live with my dad and my stepmom. And then my dad and my stepmom, when we lived there, there were my brother and sister Charlie and Johanna, who are twins, and my baby brother James. And that's why I always think it's so funny in stories when there's a mean stepmom, because my stepmom was really nice. In lion families, there's only one father, but lots of babies and several mothers to take care of them and get food. I know that's called a pride. And I also know that the lioness, the mom lions, do the hunting. And maybe some of you are studying lions for your All About books. Now here's another family that has two parents. This one has two dads. Robin's family is her dad Clifford and her dad's partner Henry and her cat Sassy. And Clifford and Henry take turns making dinner for the family. So sometimes it's called if people aren't married, if the adults aren't married, they might say a boyfriend or a partner, or it could be a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a partner. And sometimes kids get really silly about that, like, ooh, boyfriend, and that, in first grade, we don't talk about boyfriends and girlfriends or girlfriends and girlfriends or boyfriends and boyfriends, because first grade is a time for kids to learn how to get along with each other and cooperate and be friends and be kind to each other and focus on learning. And worrying about family, having a family, having a partner or a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or getting married, those are things to worry about when you are an adult. So in first grade, we don't spend our time talking about and worrying about that stuff, because we are focusing on learning and getting along with each other, and we don't want to get all silly about that stuff. But I am glad to see that they are taking turns, or to read that they are taking turns helping, because we've talked about that at school too. In a school team or in a family, everybody helps. And I hope that you are helping at home with your families. I hope you're helping your family, because when you're in first grade, you can be responsible for things at home and you can help out your family. Families can look different from each other, and they're showing some animal and people families. And even in the same family members can look different from one another. In Eric's family, his daddy has light skin and his mommy has dark skin, and his skin is in between. And here it says Karen doesn't look like her mom or dad, but she has her grandpa's smile. And then here, Cleo's puppies, she's got brown, white, and some have spots. And depending on how your family came together, in some families, if it's a birth family, people might look more alike. And if it's a family where the family came together through adoption, kids might look different from parents. It really depends on how the family came together. Who is in a family? The people who love you the most. I love this page. I love seeing all the different families and thinking about the pictures of your families that we could have on the board if we were in school. Can you picture your family in these blank pages? Maybe doing some activities that your family likes to do. How is your family just right for you? And then on the last page of the book, it says, who's in a family? The people who love you the most. Chances are your family is like no one else's, and that is just fine. And sometimes we've been talking about problem and solution in books. And sometimes people do get worried about their family, or they think about, why isn't my family like somebody else's? And one of the things about this family study, I hope, is that you've really gotten a chance to see that every family is unique, and which means, has its own characteristics. Every family is going to be different in some ways and the same in some ways, and that your family is the right family for you because you're in it. And your family cares about you, and your school family cares about you too. And we are glad that you came to Parkview and that you're in first grade with us. So I hope you enjoyed the book. And we are going to keep talking about families, well, probably all year, but this week we'll be wrapping up the family study. So I hope it's got you thinking about ways that your family is special and some of your family traditions and heritage. And we're going to have a few more books and videos and things about families as we wrap up the week.